I've yada yada sex. Yada yada yada. I never heard from him again.
Everyone remembers the laughs, the diner, and the endless yada yada yada.
Yada, yada, yada.
But even after countless reruns, Seinfeld still hides secrets most fans have never caught. From real-life lawsuits to hidden Easter eggs and behind-the-scenes chaos, the show about nothing is packed with details that'll make you see it in a whole new way. Get ready. Here are 20 weird facts about Seinfeld most fans never noticed. Fact 1. The Junior Mint. Episode 20 of Season 4, titled The Junior Mint, became iconic for more than one reason. It not only earned Michael Richards his very first Emmy for the series, but it also found its way into an actual courtroom. The episode was referenced in the real-life case Mackenzie versus Miller Brewing Company, often called the Seinfeld case. The story revolved around Gerald Mackenzie, a Miller employee who was fired after repeatedly making inappropriate jokes to a female co-worker about the episode's double meanings. At first, Mackenzie actually won his case and was awarded a staggering $26 million. But the celebration didn't last. The Court of Appeals later overturned the verdict. Fact 2. Jerry's decision. After Season 9, NBC made Jerry Seinfeld an offer that most people could only dream of: $5 million per episode to continue the show for one more year. That would have totaled around $110 million, making him the highest-paid actor in television history at the time. But Jerry turned it down. He later explained, "I don't have a life. I'm not married, and I don't have kids." He knew it was time to move on. Looking back now, with a wife, 3 kids, and a successful Netflix career, it's clear he made the right call. Fact 3. The pirate shirt. In Season 5, Episode 2, Jerry accidentally agrees to wear the now-famous pirate shirt during his appearance on The Today Show. What started as a simple joke quickly became one of the most memorable moments in Seinfeld history. The shirt itself became so iconic that it was later donated to the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. It's not currently on display, but fans still hope it'll make a comeback someday. As Jerry hilariously put it, and I said yes. Do you know why? Because I couldn't hear her Fact 4. Mulva. One of the most unforgettable and darkly funny storylines in Seinfeld was George Costanza's engagement to Susan Ross, which ended in her bizarre death after licking too many toxic wedding invitation envelopes. Looking back, Jason Alexander revealed that he and actress Heidi Swedberg struggled to connect on screen. Their comedic rhythms just didn't sync, and he found it nearly impossible to make their scenes work. When Larry David decided to keep Swedberg as George's fiancée, Alexander protested. But no one listened. That is, until the rest of the cast had to perform a big scene with her and realized the same problem. The solution? Kill off Susan. And so they did. In true Seinfeld fashion. Fact 5. A show about nothing. Seinfeld is often called the show about nothing, but according to Jerry Seinfeld himself, that wasn't the original idea at all. When he and Larry David pitched it to NBC, they described it as a show about how comedians find their material, the everyday moments that inspire their jokes. The show about nothing line was actually just a throwaway joke from one episode, but it struck a chord with viewers, took on a life of its own, and eventually became the phrase that defined an entire era of television. Fact 6. No applause, please. Most sitcoms rely on canned laughter and applause, but Seinfeld took a different approach. Much of it was filmed in front of a live audience. That setup added energy, but also created some unexpected problems. Early on, every time Kramer burst through Jerry's door, the audience went wild, cheering so loudly that it disrupted the timing of the scenes. The applause became so overwhelming that the crew eventually had to ask audiences to dial it back. Over time, the thunderous ovations faded away, and today, when you rewatch those early episodes and hear the crowd erupt for Kramer, it feels almost strange. Fact 7. The Soup Nazi. The infamous Soup Nazi from Seinfeld wasn't just a creation of fiction. He was based on a real person. The character was inspired by Ali Yeganeh, an Iranian soup vendor who owned Soup Kitchen International in New York City. After the episode aired, Yeganeh wasn't exactly thrilled about his newfound fame. He complained publicly that the show had ruined his life and his business, and when Jerry Seinfeld himself stopped by the shop a few weeks later, Yeganeh reportedly unleashed a profanity-filled rant at him. Still, his legacy lives on. Every fan remembers that iconic line, "No soup for you." Fact 8. The Lawsuit. Believe it or not, there was a real-life George Costanza, or at least someone who claimed to be. A man named Michael Costanza, a former friend of Jerry Seinfeld, filed a $100 million lawsuit against the show, accusing them of invading his privacy and using his personality as the basis for George. He argued that the character's mannerisms and even his name were taken straight from his own life. But the case didn't go far. It was dismissed because the statute of limitations had already expired. Costanza had waited too long to file, missing the one-year deadline after the show's debut. Fact 9. The Son of Sam gag. In the 1970s, New York was haunted by the chilling crimes of serial killer David Berkowitz, better known as the Son of Sam. He famously claimed that a neighbor's dog had commanded him to kill, a bizarre detail that stuck in America's collective memory. Decades later, Seinfeld gave that dark story a twisted comedic nod in the season's 7 premiere, The Engagement. In the episode, Elaine, Kramer, and Newman plot to kidnap a neighbor's endlessly barking dog, a clear wink to the dog connection in Berkowitz's case. There's also a moment where George mishears Jerry's van as Son of Sam, but the creepiest parallel comes when the police knock on Newman's door and he delivers the exact same words Berkowitz said when he was arrested. Fact 10. The Serial Killer. In Season 5, Episode 9, The Masseuse, Elaine finds herself dating a man named Joel Rifkin. The problem? At the time, there was a real Joel Rifkin making headlines, a serial killer believed to have murdered at least 17 women. Naturally, Elaine is horrified by the coincidence and begs her boyfriend to change his name to avoid the association. In classic Seinfeld fashion, one of the names she jokingly suggests is O.J., just 7 months before O.J. Simpson was charged with murder. Fact 11. The Finale. The Seinfeld finale wasn't just another TV episode, it was a full-blown cultural event. Over 76 million people tuned in to watch, making it the 4th most-watched series finale in American television history. That night, the country practically stopped. Even Frank Sinatra's emergency trip to the hospital became part of Seinfeld lore. Paramedics said they reached him faster than ever because the streets were empty, with everyone glued to their TVs. TV Land even honored the moment by going completely dark during the broadcast, displaying only a message paying tribute to the show. And in a strange bit of pop culture synergy, the night before, Dharma and Greg aired an episode about trying to have sex in public. Because, as they joked, everyone will be inside watching Seinfeld. Fact 12. Test audiences absolutely hated the pilot. Believe it or not, when Seinfeld first premiered, audiences couldn't stand it. Early test groups complained that the main character was too clueless, too wimpy, and that the whole thing felt too New York. Worst of all, they said nothing ever happened. One viewer even summed it up perfectly. You can't get too excited about going to the laundromat. Even the people making the show didn't have much faith. After filming the pilot, Larry David said goodbye to Jerry Seinfeld, assuming the show was dead. Jason Alexander, who played George, was convinced there was no way it would ever get picked up. And yet, the show about nothing became one of the biggest sitcoms in television history. Fact 13. Small sitcom order. Because the pilot tested so poorly, NBC didn't have much faith in Seinfeld at first. The network gave it the smallest sitcom order in television history, just 4 additional episodes for season 1. To make matters more confusing, the show was originally titled The Seinfeld Chronicles. But after the pilot aired, NBC decided to shorten it to simply Seinfeld to avoid confusion with another series on the air at the time called The Marshall Chronicles. Fact 14. Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Believe it or not, Julia Louis-Dreyfus wasn't the original pick to play Seinfeld's leading lady. In the pilot, that spot was meant for Claire, the waitress at Jerry's local diner, played by Lee Garlington. But after some thought, the creators realized that setup didn't really work. It didn't make sense for a waitress to constantly hang out in Jerry's apartment or be part of his inner circle. So Larry David scrapped the idea and came up with a new character, Elaine Beans, inspired by one of his own ex-girlfriends whom he later became good friends with. Fact 15. The Revenge. The episode The Revenge came straight from Larry David's real life. Back in 1984, while working as a writer on Saturday Night Live, David exploded after one of his sketches was cut right before airtime. He stormed out, quitting on the spot, then immediately regretted it. His neighbor, Kenny Kramer, the real-life inspiration for Cosmo Kramer, gave him some advice. Just show up on Monday like nothing happened. Larry did. And no one said a word. That wild moment later became George Costanza's storyline in Seinfeld. Fact 16. Jerry's rich. By Seinfeld's final season, Jerry Seinfeld became the first TV actor to earn $1 million per episode, an unheard-of sum at the time. But that was just the beginning. Through syndication, merchandise, DVD sales, and now streaming, Jerry's earnings have soared for decades. Today, he's widely believed to be the first comedian worth over $1 billion. As George once said, "My God, you're rich." Fact 17. Green 22. For the parking garage, the crew couldn't film in a real garage, so they built a full replica, tearing down Seinfeld's main set to do it. Clever use of mirrors made the space look endless. Michael Richards even carried a real air conditioner in his box for authenticity. Early in the episode, Kramer insists they parked in Green 22, while Jerry swears it was orange. Turns out Kramer was right. The car really was in the green section near the 20s. Not that it mattered. When they finally found it, the car wouldn't start. A moment that wasn't even scripted but ended up being comedy gold. Fact 18. Jerry's apartment number. Every Seinfeld fan knows Jerry lives in apartment 5A. But sharp-eyed viewers noticed it didn't start that way. Early on, his door showed 411, then later 3A, before finally settling on 5A for the rest of the series. Fans have tried to find hidden meaning in the numbers, but in true Seinfeld fashion, it adds up to absolutely nothing. And honestly, that feels perfectly fitting for a show about nothing. Fact 19. A Fusilli collection. Kramer might spend most of his time in Jerry's apartment, but even at home in 5B, he keeps Jerry close, literally hanging his headshot by the door. His place is full of odd choices, from pots on shelves to cooking in the shower. And of course, there's Fusilli Jerry, Kramer's handmade pasta statue. But look closely in later seasons, and you'll spot even more pasta figurines behind his couch. Let's just hope Frank Costanza never sat on those either. Fact 20. The end of stand-up. Sharp-eyed fans may have noticed that Jerry's stand-up bits disappeared after season 7. That change came right after Larry David left the show. With Larry gone, Jerry had to take on more of the writing and creative workload, leaving no time to craft new stand-up material, so the segments were quietly dropped for good. And there you have it. 20 weird, surprising, and downright hilarious facts even the biggest Seinfeld fans might have missed. From real-life lawsuits to pasta statues and serial killer coincidences, it just proves that the show about nothing was really about everything. Now we want to hear from you. Which of these facts shocked you the most, or did we miss one that only a true Seinfeld superfan would know? Let us know in the comments below. I'll see you then.